and I'm doing my part in the fight against COVID-19 by following all safety protocols and, most importantly, rolling up my sleeve for the vaccine. So I'm encouraging you to do the same, because that's our best shot of protecting ourselves, our family, and our friends. So don't wait, vaccinate. Let's roll up to roll out.
Come to Sun Pharmacy for all your prescription medication and healthcare supplies. 2 convenient locations: Keon Street next to the Chinese supermarket and in the food court at Port Zante. Sun Pharmacy, we care about your health. Telephone 466-1074 or 466-1077. Sun Pharmacy, your pharmacy. Sun Pharmacy accepts all bank cards and medical insurance plans from Nagico Insurance, Sagico Insurance, and National Caribbean Insurance.
Attention all drivers, I'm begging you to slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, down. Too many stunt drivers on the road, man. With the fire day, driver, what's your emergency? It's better late than never, so why all the hurry? Speeding is the main cause of plenty mishaps. The road is now a racetrack, threatening life and property, and all the result of that led to death and injury. Inconsiderate driving, this nonsense need to stop. Stop. I'm making it my business to alert all motorists, especially those who love to break traffic laws. I have seen what speed can do. Here I am to your rescue to help you to live. Just take this advice I give. I want in all drivers to take care of your passengers. Be careful on the road. Don't make it an episode. How much more tragedy we have to endure to face the reality. Less is safer than more. I'm begging all my friends.
27 minutes, moving up to the hour of 9 o'clock. I don't think it's going to be an extended one this morning. It's going to be the usual program this morning. In the studio with me, we have, can you hear yourself? Not yes. You can, okay, great. Because I was going to let you know, since it's just you alone, you can change the headphones if you like.
I'm good.
Okay, great. We normally start the program with a prayer once Donnelly is here. Yes. So over to you, my dear.
Yes, good morning. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for your goodness and your mercies. And so this morning we come before you, dear God, thanking you for the gift of life. Thanking you for waking us up this morning in our right minds. We thank you, dear God, for journeying mercies. You said in your word, dear God, where 1 and 2 are gathered, you're going to be in the midst. And we're asking your presence with us this morning. Whatever we do and say on this program, may it be of some importance to some individual. We want to continue to bless our Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and the whole world on a whole. Continue to guide and guard our lives, be our protector, our finance officer, our deliverer, our doctor, our baker. Whatever our situation is at this time, dear God, we are seeking your guidance and your continued blessings. We bring before you, dear God, this morning our families, whatever situation they may be facing, financially, health, whatever the situation is at this time, we bring all of it before you. Because you said in your word that you will fight all of our battles. And we know the battles that you have fought for us, dear God, at this time. you have won them all. And so we lay all our troubles at your feet. Continue to guide us in all our doings. These mercies we ask in no other name but your name. Amen.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so before we go too far, just got to let the public know. I know, for those of you who are listening, Bucky called in this morning, and Bucky just wanted to let you know that I shared your suggestion with Donnelly, and she do think it's a good one,
Yes.
and it's something that she'll be looking into
Yes,
going
definitely.
forward. So thank you for your community support. It is definitely needed, especially when you see things getting out of hand. So what's on your agenda this morning?
Well, this morning, Mr. GQ, I want to say good morning to the general public and those persons who are tuning in from whatever platform. And like I would always say on the program, without you, our program would not be the same. This morning, I want to touch on almost everything where driver's license is concerned. Temporary driver's license. I want to touch a little on registration of vehicles. And I want, before I go any further into the program, to thank Mr. Bucky for calling in, and to see that the general public is interacting, whether or not there is a radio talk, there is a traffic talk. Persons are still being concerned about the development of St. Kitts and Nevis, where trafficking is concerned. Thank you very much. This morning I want to touch on temporary driver's license. I think I would have done a program on this sometime before, but persons are still not fully aware of what happens when it comes to temporary driver's license. Persons are still coming to the Federation and still driving without the appropriate license. And so we're going to touch on it just a little bit this morning, just to remind the general public that once you enter the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and you're from the countries of, let's say, India, the United States, or you're from Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, you would need a temporary driver's license in order for you to drive legally in the Federation. You must bring with you to the department your passport, or in the case of persons who are coming from the US, you can use your passport card because we accept that, along with your driver's license, and we would issue to you the temporary driver's license, whether it be 1 year or 3 months. Persons who come from the countries of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Anguilla, Antigua, Tortola, BVI, Montserrat. These countries you can drive, Grenada, these countries you can drive in St. Kitts on that license once it is valid. After such, you come to the department with your passport as long as it has that free movement stamp in the back of the passport that says registered. We would issue to you, I think it's a Nevis driver's license. Persons who are from the countries of Jamaica, you would do the same process as those persons who are from Barbados and Trinidad. Now we have persons who have never been issued a temporary driver's license, but they have a license from overseas. Let's take Jamaica, for example. And they come into the Federation, and after they've been here for 3-4 years, they say they want to go to drive. The question they're asking is whether or not they would have to go to the process of doing a written exam. No, you don't. Once you have an overseas license that is valid, all you need to do is to get in touch with an instructor, get yourself a learner's permit, a driver's test receipt. You come to the traffic department, they make you a reservation, and you go the road test, and the examining officer would decide whether or not you would pass that test. Mm-hmm. If you come into the Federation and you have a driver's license from any of the OECS countries I would have just mentioned, and for some reason you would have lost or lose that driver's license, and you come to the department and say, I had a driver's license from Antigua or St. Vincent and I was driving, but I lost my driver's license. You can do one of two things. You can do a road test, go to the same examining officer, or you can get a document from your country of origin in order for you to bring to the traffic department, and we would issue you the St. Kitts and Nevis driver's license.
Okay.
Registration of vehicles. Now, GQ, we remember the days when we used to have one car boat per month. That's like 12 car boats per year. Now we have like 4 car boats per month. And so the numbers on vehicles are increasing. And so some persons still not aware of how you deal with registration of vehicles. And so we're going to touch on it this morning a little bit. Whenever you import a vehicle from overseas, there are 2 main documents that you must bring with you to the traffic department. You must have with you a certificate of title and that form from customs, that form that says custom and excise. Once you have those 2 documents, along with your ID or whoever name the vehicle is going to be registered in, you come to traffic department and the officers there would do your transfer or your registration. If in the event that you were the owner of a registration number before and you want to use that number again on your new vehicle, say that first upfront when dealing with the officer. Because some persons would come, they know in their mind that they want to use back their old number, but they would wait until the officer finished doing the registration, put the information in the system already, give them a new number, and then say, oh, officer, I had a number I want to use. It makes it very difficult because we have to go back into the system and get that information deleted out in order to do the transaction that you really want to get done the proper way. So if for some reason you have a registration number before and you're getting a new vehicle and you want to use your old number on your new vehicle, make sure you inform the officer you're dealing with of your intention. Changing of ownership. If you're changing ownership on a vehicle, let's take yourself and me doing a change of ownership. GQ, you are buying a vehicle from me. I am selling you my vehicle. I must come to the traffic department with both of us must be there in order to do the transaction. If I want to keep my registration number, selling you the vehicle without a number, there is a form that I have to fill, and on the bottom of that form it says, I wish to retain my registration number. I tick off that section that said I wish to retain my registration number. Both of us will sign that form in front of the officer, and then we would register the vehicle I am selling you and give you another number because I am retaining my old number.
Right.
And so for us to have a smooth transition, is always best again to say to the officer, I am buying a vehicle from Donnelly, but I have a registration number that I would like to use. And that can happen. Persons who are buying new vehicles and you know for a fact that you have a vehicle that you were using before and you have no intention of bringing that vehicle back on the road again, if you know the vehicle is derelict or it's broken down, please to make sure that you have that vehicle secured on your private property or at a garage or at the Connery landfill. Some time ago on a program I would have relayed to the general public that we would start the placing of notices on derelict and broken down vehicles from the first week in the month of May for Market Street, Soho, Shadwell side, and so I just want to bring to the general public attention this morning that we have started that process. And so just letting you know that if you have vehicles in the area that are broken down, they're good but they're broken down, please to move your vehicles to areas that are private property or to a garage. Persons who are changing ownership to persons who are deceased. Let's say, for instance...
From persons who are deceased.
Persons who are deceased. Let's say, for instance, my father dies, but all of his vehicles is registered, still registered in his name. He didn't leave a will. And so you want to transfer, there are children, and there is a wife. you must bring to the department a letter of administration from the court or probate. These things take a long time. So the person who is in charge of the estate, the person who is in charge of the vehicles, that person can come to the department, get the vehicles transferred to the estate of the person who died, and that person will be responsible for signing off on the documents. The vehicles would not be placed in any personal name. For example, it would say the estate of John Doe, and all the vehicles would be placed in that person's name, the estate of, but there would be a signature of that person who is responsible for the estate until the documents of the administrative letter and the probate come into effect.
Okay.
That's how it is when it comes to persons who are deceased. I would rest now, Mr. GQ, and see if you have any persons who would want to ask any questions when it comes to. Before I rest, though, I want to inform the general public that we no longer do the driver's written exam on a Wednesday, except in the cases of persons who are Seventh-day Adventists. All of our written exams are done on Saturdays from 10 a.m. in the morning, just for the general public to be aware of that.
Okay. 465-2555. And for those of you overseas, 718-577-2916. If you have a question or a concern, now is your time to get in. Let's take our first call. Hi, good morning. We are barely hearing you.
Yeah. I got a question, right? Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay, concerning deceased person. This person died. Before he died, this guy was working for this person and she gave him a vehicle, right? Follow me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, she gave him a vehicle to drive, to use, and so forth. Afterward, the person died, but he didn't have any documents for the vehicle. And now the vehicle license expired. How do you go about it? It's not a family member. He was working for the person and she gave him the vehicle. But you don't have any documents for your vehicle, and now the license expired and you want to read the license. How do you go about that?
If the person who died have family members, maybe a wife or children, you would have to have a conversation with those persons, because you do not know. Maybe the person died and said, okay, I'm giving him the vehicle, but he would have said something different to the children, or maybe he would have left a will or something saying that the vehicle is handed over to the children or to the wife. If there is...
The person who died is not from here, so they don't have any family here.
You have to go to the court and get an administrative letter. There is nothing that we, the traffic department, can do unless you bring an administrative letter from the court. You must have a letter of administration from the court in order for us to do any transfer of any vehicle from a person who is deceased to somebody who is alive. Unless in the case of a will, there is nothing that the traffic department can do in order for us to do a transfer of that person's name, the person who dies, into the person who is alive name.
Okay, one more quick question. If I'm living here from Jamaica, I'm living here for 5 years, and I go home for vacation, get a license, and come back. I will live here 5 years, but I went home for vacation, get a license while I was home, and come back. What is the situation with that driving here?
When you come back, you can do one of two things. You can come to the traffic department and get a temporary driver's license if you're going to be here temporary. If you're coming back to go back to Jamaica to live, you will be a temporary resident, and so we can issue with a temporary driver's license. If you're coming back to St. Kitts to live on the island of St. Kitts again, living means you're picking up residency, you must go to the process of taking a road test based on your overseas Jamaica license, along with your passport. Get yourself an instructor, and that instructor will tell you need to get a driver's license receipt, and you must get a temporary driver. You must get a oh my goodness. You must get a driver's test receipt in order for you to do the road test. And the learner's permit, sorry.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
All right. 465-2555, that's 2555. And 718-577-2916. Let's take this next call. Hi, good morning. You're live.
Very pleasant morning to you, GQ.
Pleasant morning.
And all your listeners. I would like only to just indulge me slightly with respect to what happens at the bus terminal. I think we are having a serious problem there.
Which bus terminal?
Westline bus terminal that needs to be addressed. A system has been put in place whereby the buses line up and in two lines and pull up in the order in which one arrives or returns to the bus terminal. We have some senior members of the Westline Bus Association, namely the president, that is Nicholson Rambo Webster, leading the way in flaunting the law, breaking the law in the presence of the police. As I said, the system is just as it is in other bus terminals. I have seen it work in Georges, Grenada. I have seen it work in St. Vincent. And the system is, there are two lines. There's a lane on the seaside, inside of the ferry terminal, and there is a line on the same side with the island main road. So if you have two lines, it means that the two buses at the front should be loading first. Nicholson Rambo Webster, he's the president of the Westline Bus Association, and as I said, he's the leading culprit. He's actually calling passengers to the back buses, the buses that are at the back, actually going and holding their hands. Like I said, I saw that man do that yesterday in the presence of a male police officer. And I think that is flaunting the law in the presence of the law enforcement officer. So I believe that whoever in charge of the system that has been put in place, which is a very good system, it's an excellent system, it's a system that can work well. And one of the things that can be done is that the buses can be filled alternatively. So you have buses pulling at the front, the two buses at the front, all the time. So each time a bus pulls at the front, the buses at the back move up. They move up and they full. I have seen that work in the biggest parish in Grenada, Grenville, St. Andrews, before a proper terminal was built for those guys.
Your point has been made. Your point has been made.
So I think that should be addressed in that they should not allow people like Rambo and those guys to break the law, violate the rules, violate the regulations, and fool the buses at the back and then drive out.
Before you go, can I ask you a question? Before you go, hold on. Can I ask you a question? You said break the law. Did he break the law in front of a police officer and he didn't do anything?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. A male police officer was standing right there, and the man filled at least 3 buses plus his, which would make it a total of about 4 buses, and my bus on the line waiting to be filled. So it means that all the persons who were coming to my bus, he was pulling them away from my bus, loading the buses at the back.
Okay. Hold on. We understand that. So give Donnelly a chance to respond. Go ahead, Donnelly.
Mr. Baptiste, good morning. I want to thank you for your call. And you are one of those persons who I would say, well, call into the radio program and now and again you would send me a text message as to what would happen at the bus terminal. Now, if you're saying on radio that you would have seen a police officer on duty in full uniform standing there and watching the president of the think it's West Side Bus Association breaking the law, then that's a story that we have to deal with. Now, I wouldn't know who the officer is. You would have to tell me who the officer is. And I would have to hear the officer's side of the story and to hear Mr. Rambo's side of the story, because there are always 3 stories. There's always 3 sides to a story. Now, maybe it may look to you that that is what was happening, maybe in the officer's eyes is not what you're thinking, and maybe in Mr. Wambo's eye he's not doing what you say he was doing, and so that's something that we would have to deal with. I cannot stay from where I'm sitting and say what the situation was. I take your call. I would have noted your information, and that is something that we would have to deal with.
All right, let's go back to the phone. Good morning. You're live.
Good morning. Well,
Hey.
good morning, Miss Donnelly Shiverton Liber.
Good morning.
And how are you?
I am fine, thank you. Thanks for asking. And you?
I'm great. It's always a pleasure listening to you. I think, Donnelly, you should resign from the police force and go into teaching. You are that good. Your explanation is just off the chart. I just love listening to you.
Thank you so much.
And in relation to some concern that I have in relation to the roundabout, the roundabout is still a serious problem. There's a lot of persons still do not understand the roundabout. And you said something this morning, which is there's something persons need to take into consideration. We have so many traffic, so many vehicles on the road. It's amazing. And that's why I think there is so many accidents, because persons not realizing the amount of traffic. And as soon as you're being distracted, you're basically into somebody else. So you have to be focused, very focused on the road with all the amount of vehicles you have on the road. And it's very challenging for traffic personnel. When you have 4 or 5 car boats coming in 1 month, as you indicated, that in itself, we have too much vehicles, but persons just have the opportunity to bring in their vehicles, and you cannot do anything about it. So, but persons have to take that into consideration and to be cautious on the road, because just the other day I heard Superintendent David was saying the amount of accidents they're having within a month. That's a lot of accidents. So it's sure that people are not focusing, they're being distracted either by the phone or whatever it might be. So we just have to take a lot of things into consideration. But Donnelly, I just want to give you all credit. It's not an easy job, but at the end of the day, you all are doing it to the best of your ability. Continue, Donnelly, doing the great job. I look forward to the rest of the show. Thank you very much. Have a good morning.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, let's take this next call. Good morning. You're live.
Good morning, GQ and Donnelly.
Hey, morning, Dumpling.
Good morning.
This is Dumpling speaking.
Good morning.
Donnelly,
Yes.
just the gentleman said, I don't know if the bus man them, but down there by way, I just sit down and say, Mr. Ma, here used to be drop off and pick up. Ain't no drop off and pick up now. And people park up their roads, we come and tell them move. If they move, we'll give them a ticket. I see a police lady with one of them new recruit. The recruit tell the gentleman to move. And she come call him and tell him, Reason is my friend. And before I speak, the lady got me up, she cut up, she oil, she did, she passed. She leaves up like she was inside by a fellow deal, by the toilet there, steady. And so then she's there eating chicken. Outside there she coming up and call the boy. And tell the boy, leave him with my friend. Call the boy, come to buy something from somebody. And he get upset at the person who be selling. Because he jumped in and started to say, why you don't hush me mouth? But if people have some better ticket, if I get shop and I come to you, come buy from you, and I get a ticket, why different can get a ticket? The front with you tell us, so it got to be something going on here with, especially some of them women police, they just pass out and say they're training the recruit, and when the recruit try to do what they have to do, they're stopping them. So the gentleman mightn't be lying. Let us do it. I had to in call Randy, and different policemen come down and ask questions, and I said what I had to say. And from that, anytime the girl see me, she cut up she oil. She from Sandy Point, and your police girl just asked out. Wrong is wrong, Donnelly. Me don't play. See it. Me don't play. In the plain clothes, AFC, see that, and a car, and she waits with me. So the gentleman might be right, Jack Donnelly. See you. Don't play.
All right, thank you for your call, Dumpling. Donnelly, I'm going to leave that as our final call because we're getting ready for 9 o'clock report.
Yes. Dumpling, I want to thank you for that call. Officers are placed at the Westline bus terminal for prevention, and they also placed there for them to protect lives and property. Now, if for some reason an officer is on duty and he or she sees offences being committed and not do anything, that is not correct. Even if you are a friend with someone who is committing an offence, you have a duty to either warn that person, or in the event that a ticket can be issued, you must. Because if that person is your friend, then he or she must respect you in your line of duty. Now, Miss Dumpling, if it is that officer is looking at you funny, don't. Maybe in your mind you're thinking that the person is watching you funny, but maybe it's not what you're thinking. I always like to put a different fling or different switch to how we look at life. Sometimes we put things in a negative and it's the absolute opposite. Not saying that you're incorrect, but let me have a conversation with the person who makes duties for the person at the West Line bus terminal, and they are there for a purpose. Now, when it comes to the buses, we as police officers, we are not supposed to stay there and babysit big men and women. If you have a system that is working at the bus line terminal, why police officers supposed to stand and babysit you as big men and women? We know what we are supposed to do as individuals. And so I am not saying that the gentlemen, that persons are going to operate how they want anyways. Whether police officers are there or not, they're going to operate how they want. Police officers are not supposed to stand by and watch things happen and don't do anything. And in the same breath, persons are supposed to be operating as big men and women and do what they're supposed to do while they're trying their best to make a dollar. This is the end of our program. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and continue to enjoy your week.
It's better late than never, so why all the hurry? Speeding. You're simply the best. Better than all the rest.
Are you looking for a place that provides skilled nursing care and rehabilitation services to people with special needs